You know, like a lot of people here, well, I'm guessing this, but I don't know, my background is in the Labour Party and in the Labour room. You know, like many of you, I've watched on with a mixture of dismay and despair as New Labour dismantled what at one time was the mass party of the working class on these islands, and turned it into what was a kind of right-wing version of the Liberal Democrats. You know, a kind of left-wing capitalist party that defends capitalism from the workers. And I have to say, at times I've been frightened. You know, they would get away with it, that they would win, and that Blair and Brown and all the New Labour Tories would be proved to be right, that the class war was over, that capital had won, that socialism now was history. But thank God I was wrong. I was proved ever so wrong. And I think this came across to me very recently when I thought for a minute about New Labour and the success that I've experienced since 1997. The period of New Labour ascendancy in this country has actually coincided almost exactly with a period, one of the best boom time periods in the history of modern British capitalism. Shopping malls have proliferated all over this country. Credit cards, the credit has been rolling to anybody who wanted to get credit in this country. The housing bubble and the debt bubble has blown up out of all proportions. And New Labour rode that capitalist wave for everything it was worth. And in the process, forgetting who they were, where they came from, what values they once actually stood for. And I was terrified that they were going to get away with this terrible thing. But then, when you discover when things start to go wrong, and the report came out, I think it was just last week, about the level of inequality in this country, despite having been in power for the most wealthy years of British capitalism, at the end of that period, Britain remains a more unequal country than it was when New Labour came to power all those years ago. In fact, 2007 to 2008, their 10th year in power, was the worst year of inequality in Britain's history since 1945. And that is what New Labour has delivered from being in power during all those times. And it strikes me that two things happened last month. In January, 2,500 bankers and business people and politicians gathered at Davos in Switzerland to discuss the way forward for the world. And I think in their own words, what they were saying was that they were going to rethink and redesign and rebuild capitalism. And that must strike fear into the heart of every worker in the world when you hear these people get together to put together again the machine that has caused so much misery over the past few years. But thousands of miles away from Davos, in Porto Alegre in Brazil, the World Social Forum is gathering for the 10th time, for the 10th year in succession. And there, 35,000 activists and socialists came together, and they came to very different conclusions. They were not for putting capitalism together again, because they had already fingered capitalism as the cause of the misery of workers all over the world. And they left Porto Alegre, calling on workers all over the world to unite behind a new global socialist agenda that once and for all will sweep capitalism away and give hope to mankind everywhere around the world. And I share that hope. And I think everybody in this room should share that hope. Because the tide has turned. Socialism wasn't dead. Capitalism didn't win. It's capitalism that's in trouble, not socialism that's in trouble. And as we move into 2010, we should remember that socialism is on the way back, and in this country can roar again with a united voice of the workers in this country, and we should be part of that united roar in the year ahead. So let's go together forward to make this weekend a success, but building on this weekend to get the Scottish Socialist Party back in the rails and back in the business of winning workers for a socialist revolution in this country. Thanks.